Well, we may have gotten our new Azumarill, but things were looking bleak for Coach Shroom's season, and I still had a mystery to solve. Little did I know, I was gonna get the answers real soon, and I was not gonna like them. Hello.
Max, good to talk to you again. And how are you?
Chase, yeah, just peachy. Trying to clean up the mess you and Boff left when you let Red loose on the city.
Max, I'm so disappointed in you.
Come again?
You know, I really thought Red was what you'd be devoting your time to. I even gave you the name you needed. All you had to do was just give it your full attention. We could have avoided all of this.
Avoided? What are you talking about, Chase?
But no, Trev comes to you with one phone call and suddenly you're looking into my business again. Didn't you take the hint after what went down at the Battle Resort? The consortium doesn't like you poking around in their activities.
Well, I had to keep an eye on the... What? Wait. How do you know about all that? What's that got to do with you?
You still don't get it, do you, Max? I am the consortium.
Say that again.
I mean, honestly, I thought you'd have figured me by now. The great Max Stryker, detective investigator, blind fool. Now that's a headline.
Nah, the consortium runs the gambling rings here. For that to be you, you'd have to...
Be watching everyone? Knowing everything that goes on for years? Flying under the radar, consolidating power underground while you blundered around without a clue?
For years? Chase, with all due respect, you ain't exactly consolidated jack shit lately.
Ah, but I have. Rule number 1, always be one step ahead. Rule number 2, execute that by having the best plan. And then rule number 3, just work smarter. I don't have to win these petty titles if I have everyone else fighting amongst themselves for those titles, doing whatever it takes to win them.
So essentially, Chase, aka Seabad, decided that he wasn't really vibing with his team. So among some of the mons he dropped, things like Braviary, things like Jolteon, things like Zamazenta Crowned. What if I took that? And now we have these 3 Pokemon.
You did give Addison the tools to win that Pokemon Premier League season.
Honestly, I thought it was over then. So many people calling me out, but the one person who didn't was you. The one unknowing ally I needed to maintain my innocence. And then she left, just like I knew she would. And all the attention was off me.
And the Battle Resort?
Well, I made a little deal with a certain someone in Kobukan. By then, you were all fighting over control of Draft League City. What a sideshow. I mean, we'd had access to the Hinge Advantage expression for ages by then. That gave me the resources I need to set up the Battle Resort.
But there was a problem, wasn't there, Chase? Joey Know-How.
Very good, Max. Yeah, that was an oversight on my part. Of course he saw right through me, but like I said, always be one step ahead. All it took was getting somebody inside his inner circle to defect. Work smarter. Once he became a suspect of yours, that gave me some breathing space. It was clever of him to let you know in that coded message, but it was too late by then. The test run was over, and we were all set for the main event.
And that was this season.
My friend in Kobukan stood to gain a lot from knowing how the matches would pan out. And all the gambling profits in Draft League City would be pocket change compared to what we'd make just by tweaking the odds in our favor. In the end, Doesn't even matter who wins. Kobukan gets the television rights to the greatest entertainment on the airwaves, and the consortium gets a big old payday for helping them do that.
But fixing the matches with hacks can only get you so far. Surely someone in your position must have known that. With so many unknowns this season, you need people on the inside.
Who do you think told Nova's mysterious friend to recommend the cleaner to him, huh? Who do you think really brought Boff back? Set Quackleval to spy on Trav, made sure you beat Darya unfairly, I might add, to drive a wedge between you, pulled the strings to make sure Onesie got destroyed in his first game.
And the cults? You'd have to know that'd be helping me.
Come on, Max. That one's easy. You know the answer already.
The wild cards.
Precisely. The one thing fixing the matches using hacks couldn't account for. So, my friend in Kobukan gave us Red. Now, he's expended his usefulness to us. Once a blunt instrument has done what it's been ordered, well, it's not needed anymore. You were supposed to be doing that for me once I told you he was involved, but oh well. You just can't get the staff these days, I guess. We'll deal with him later.
So what now, Chase? I assume you're building to a point.
Now here's the situation, Max. The consortium, well, I suppose I should just drop the pretense now, right? I still control all the gambling in this city. Nothing can change that. So why don't we make a little deal? A gamble, if you will. Now, doesn't that seem appropriate?
Spit it out.
I know you know that I play Shroom this week. Now, there's a lot riding on it, and I know you're not just going to let this go. So how about this? If he wins, I'll stop my activities right here, right now. I'll keep a hold of everything I've worked for, of course, but I'll give up the hinged advantage expression. I'll call a halt to the match fixing. I'll even give you back Kyle A. Arceus knows I've already made a small fortune now. But if I win, you leave Draft League City. And I don't just mean for a while like last time, no. You leave for good. Plenty of other places you could set yourself up in.
How can I trust you, Chase, after everything you've done?
You can't, and that's the fun of it. It's all a gamble.
And what about Shroom?
I've got no problem with Shroom. I like the guy. I even respect him. He didn't ask for any of this. You just dragged him into it. You're the problem, Max. You always have been.
All right, Chase. Fine. You got yourself a deal.
Wonderful. I knew you could be agreeable with the right motivation. So, former Detective Inspector Max Stryker, let the battle commence.
Hello everyone, Shroomraver here, and welcome to Week 8 of the Pokémon Premier League. Yes indeed, last time our Dragon Woes continued with a pretty nasty loss that puts it really puts our playoff positions in jeopardy. We really need a win this week. If we lose, we're pretty much out of it, depending on differential. But we are going to get our best shot, and our opponent today is none other than Chase, aka Seabad, and the Detroit Steel Wings. His links down in the description below. Make sure you check them out. I mean, you know who Chase is. He is a legend of the scene. Just an absolutely top guy who I absolutely love, and I love his content. And you should too. If you're not subscribed to him, what are you doing? Go and do that right now and then come back and watch the rest of this video. Yeah, he's had a bit of a rough one. He's still looking for his first win, and we are hoping to not give it to him. The team he can choose from is Dragapult, Enamorus Incarnate, Scizor, Alamomola, Hydrapple, Hisuian Samurott, Mamoswine, Grafaiai, Magneton, and of course the best Pokemon in Draft League, Swadloon. His regen core is his Terra Captaincy, the Alamomola and the Hydrapple along with the Swadloon. Yeah, difficult core to break those two, especially when paired with the likes of like a bulky Scizor, Magneton. The Mamoswine can tank hits all day, every day. Chase has used Grafaiai excellently this season. He's got some really good value out of it. The Samurott can spam the likes of Ceaseless Edge and go for flip turns and be annoying. And of course, you've got those two very powerful offensive mons in the form of Dragapult and Enamorus Incarnate, who are potentially quite deadly. Not an easy one to break down, but we're going to give it our best shot, starting off, as always, with Great Tusk. Rocky Helmet this week with a lot of HP. We've got Close Combat, Supercell Slam, Ice Spinner, and Rapid Spin. Helmet is punishing Scizor if it wants to come and U-turn around. It's punishing Ceaseless Edges from the Hisuian Samurott. We've got enough defense and HP on there to live Ceaseless Edge into Razor Shell from Adamant Max Attack Hisuian Samurott. We are Adamant though, just to maintain a bit of offensive presence, get those hazards away when we can, punish physical contact attackers, and go for big hits with those offensive moves. Then we have our win con for today, and that is going to be Booster Energy Iron Moth. We are booster speed, we are max speed in order to, I think we're speed tying, are we speed tying Grafaiai? We're certainly outspeeding the likes of Enamorus, which could very well come Scarf. It's kind of what I'm anticipating. Fire Dance, Sludge Wave, Dazzling Gleam, and Energy Ball. There are a number of things we need in order for this to work. We need to, like I always say with regen cores, try and keep them below 50% if possible for when they're switching out to get that regen back. We need about 50% damage on the Dragapult. And from there we can do a good amount of work into the rest of the squad with the coverage that we have. We've got a decent amount of defense investment just to take priority moves even better from the likes of Scizor and Mamoswine. I know they're resisted, but they're still quite potent. And Chase has run Quick Attack Dragapult before as well, so that's something to watch out for. Next up, we have, as ever, the Haxorus. It's another different Terra. This time it is electric. We are loaded dice Scale Shot with Terra Blast, Earthquake, and Swords Dance. Enough speed investment to outpace anything unboosted after a +1. Hopefully we can try and get to a +2 as well, just in case of nasty Scarfers. Terra Blast Electric, doing good damage to the likes of Alomola, the Samurott, and indeed the Enamorus. We've got a bit of HP and Spadef investment on there, just to make sure we can comfortably, after Terroring, take a Moonblast from Modest Scarf Enam. We can also take one hit from Scarfed Dragapult, especially after Terroring. And hopefully do some decent damage to everything he's got, really. Terroring out of Dragon also provides some protection from those aforementioned priority moves that we talked about. But anticipating Scarfers, I'm bringing one of my own, and that is going to be Scarfed Iron Crown here. Tachyon Cutter, Psyshock, Volt Switch, and Electric Terrain. We have 152 HP, 132 Special Attack Modest, 112 in speed, and assorted EVs into the defenses. This will allow us to take any one hit from full from any variant of Dragapult, which is super useful to have. And just cause a lot of damage to everything he's got. Alomomola could be a switch, but realistically, if Alomomola switches into a Tachyon Cutter, we just click it again. What can it do to us? Not much. Scarf Electric Terrain is interesting. It powers up Terra Electric on Haxorus. It gives us a Quark Drive if we're knocked off, for example. It powers up some other moves around, and also means that if we need to bring Iron Moth in early, it doesn't waste that booster energy. So we can save that for a late game if we still need it. Next up, we are giving a debut to a set of a mon we've brought a lot. It is Azumarill, and we're finally bringing Belly Drum. Citrus Berry Belly Drum here with Play Rough, Liquidation, Aquajet. It's a very standard set, 244 HP, 216 Adamant in attack, 16 speed just for things creeping us, and we have 32 remaining, goes into Spadef. Now what that is allowing us to do is we are going to be able to take with our Citrus Berry and that investment, the Belly Drum HP cut, followed by 2 Grass Knots from Hisuian Samurott, which might be running it. He could run mixed. Hisuian Samurott is no slouch, especially offensively. And the Grass Knot could be coming out because it doesn't have anything else to touch Azumarill with, and this is prime setup location for it. Azumarill, after a Belly Drum, can OHKO everything. Obviously, the likes of Dragapult could be a problem, but unless he is Terra'd into Steel, for example, on Alomola or Hydrapple, then the Play Rough is almost uncontested Liquidation will do for the steel types he does have, and Aqua Jet is doing about 65% to a Dragapult. So if Dragapult's taking damage, we get a player up with Azumarill, we can just win, or we can use Azumarill to try and break the Dragapult, because we need about 50% damage on that for Dazzling Gleam from Iron Moth to claim the Oko. So those two can work together in tandem, and one of them can try and break for the other to sweep. But we do want some defensive power on our team, and that is going to come in the form of Porygon 2. With a Violite, we do have Trace. There are a lot of abilities on Chase's team that I would quite like. He has 2 Regen Mons. Regen on Porygon 2, trying to wear those down and then getting out and getting the health back is super nice. Tracing the likes of Thick Fat on Mamo makes us take those Ice Crashes even better. Even with the investment we have, an Earthquake from Adamant is, I think, barely a 3-shot, if not more likely a 4. And we can do some nice tracing stuff on there, and get some decent abilities. We have Tri-Attack, Foul Play, Charge Beam, and Recover. We can try and Charge Beam up on the likes of Alomomola, Unterrid, or Enamorus if needs be. Foul Play is usually doing more to Dragapult and indeed Assault Vest Mamoswine, and Tri-Attack is just there for the general hitting of things and stuff. Recover is Recover. So, that's the team we're going into this match with. Let's go over to the battle screen and see what Chase decides to bring against us. So, as you can see, Chase has decided to bring Hydrapple, Mamoswine, Hisuian Samurott, Dragapult, Alomomola, and Enamorus. Those are pretty much the 6 we were anticipating. It is Terra Ghost on the Hydrapple, and it is Terra Water on the Alomomola. Interesting choices there. I can see why you'd want to prevent the rapid spin with something a bit more suited to take hits than Dragapult. Terra Water on Aloe is very interesting, not something you see every day. Normally, you're looking for a resistance to better tank its bulk, so we'll see what he's got planned there. I'm going to lead with my Scarfed Iron Crown. If he wants to lead with the Scarfer, we can scout it out, tank a hit, and move from there with the Volt Switch. Or we can just tack you onto a Volt Switch as we need. So, let's see how it goes. So, here we go. PPL Season 4, Week 8 against Chase, aka Seabad, and the Detroit Steel Wings. There he is. He is going to be leading off with the Hydrapple, as I'm just going to go with my Iron Crown. This is pretty much fine. We know that this is Terra Ghost, which it might want to just immediately go for to make sure it's resistant to any rogue ice moves that I might be packing, or just to make sure that I can't spin against him with my Great Tusk. Either way, P2 is looking like the best switch-in that I have. He may not want to go for Earth Power under the threat of me having a Sugar Berry, so it could just be a Terra Blast coming our way. Either way, P2 is going to be the best thing to take that on, and to boot, we'll be able to trace what is very likely Regenerator. And Chase is going to Terra off rip. Going to turn that Hydrapple from a Grass Dragon into the Ghost typing. So yeah, he really clearly wants to prevent the spins. Looks like hazards are going to be a part of his game plan, which is fine. That would imply this is going to be a more physically defensive build, and the damage from that Volt Switch would really underline that. This is looking to be incredibly not specially defensive. I'm imagining max HP, max defense. But either way, Volt Switching out there and doing a nice little bit of chip, I'm going to go into my P2 as not necessarily the thing that's going to take this on best, but really, it is kind of the only thing that actively wants to take a hit this early on. So, P2 is going to hit the field as we trace Regenerator, which is nice, and we are going to see Earth Power come in from the Hydrapple. It doesn't do a whole huge amount to us, so this is certainly not showing any signs of significant special attack investment. Now, I can't touch it with Tri-Attack, but I can test the waters with going for Charge Beam, because unless this thing is a very bulky, nasty plot set, if I can Charge Beam up enough, we might be able to beat this thing 1v1, or at the very least force it out under the threat of a boosted Shadow Ball. So, Rock Core is going to be pulled back, fairly understandably. He's going to get that regen back to full, and it is going to be the Alomomola that comes in for Chase, as we just go for a foul play. I just wanted to test the waters on the super effective hit. It does actually more than I might anticipate it to do. I know that isn't much damage, but this is an Alomomola, and that foul play did just a little tad more than I would anticipate it doing. I'm going to go for the Charge Beam here. If this thing wants to start setting up wishes, I'm going to try and set up on it. and start getting boost with Tri-Attack and maybe firing, boost with Charge Beam and maybe firing off Tri-Attacks. However, the Flip Turn is going to come in. It's going to do very little. We're a very physically defensive build. Still a little bit more than I might anticipate, so there could be a bit of investment in there. I suppose he is Terra Water, so he might want to get some attack raising power on there. Unfortunately for me, it is going to be the Mamoswine that comes in, so my Charge Beam is going to be revealed and do nothing. That is unfortunate, but we are, as I say, a very physically defensive P2. Now, a knockoff is coming my way. There is no two ways about it. But there's nothing I have that wants to switch in that can take a knockoff and then take a subsequent hit from Mamo. So what I'm going to do is test the waters with the Tri-Attack. If we can snag a cheeky burn, that would be delicious. But at the very least, we're going to be able to scout his set a bit and see what he's working with. I don't fear knockoff into Earthquake. I will take that hit. So I'm fine to just go for a Tri-Attack and see if we can't work out what this Mamoswine's working with. And as you'll see, it is going to be the knockoff. That does not do a massive amount of damage whatsoever. He's certainly not banded. We're going to go for Tri-Attack, and we'll see not only is he not banded, he is very Assault Vest. That does incredibly little damage. Now, I will take another hit, and Foul Play will do more than Tri-Attack is ever going to do to me. But I've lost my Violite, and I am at 50% or thereabouts of health. But I have Regenerator. So while I could try and recover up or go for a Foul Play, the other option is to get on out of there and go into something to directly threaten Mamoswine that I know won't be going for knockoff again. In the end, I do go for Recover. It is going to be Trailblaze that comes in, so this Mamoswine's now at +1 speed. I'm going to go for a Recover here on P2, get myself up to a really nice range of health. If I switch out now and come back in with the Regenerator I traced, I'll be at full. I could go for Foul Play here. That is also a fine play. Again, I don't fear this Mamoswine just yet. He can keep going for Trailblazes, but P2 will beat it 1v1 at this point. So Foul Play is a pretty tasty option to go for here. It's fairly risk-free. It's going to be Earthquake from Mamo, but as we see, that does not do over half of what I've got left, even without a Violite, and the Foul Play is going to do a good chunk. Now, I'm rather thinking that he might want to switch on out here, but on the off chance that he doesn't, I do have another plan that I can go for. Remember, in the back of my mind, we've still got Regenerator on P2, so when I come back in, I'll be at a good amount of health even without a Violite, and P2 can still do some meaningful work. So what I'm planning on doing here is being very aggressive, and I'm going to try and force the issue with this Mamoswine. So with that in mind, I'm going to pull back P2, and I'm going to make an incredibly aggressive switch and go hard into my Azumarill as the Mamoswine goes for Icicle Crash. This is a delightful series of events. That does not do a massive amount of damage, a little more than I would want my Azumarill to take, sure, but this way I really force the issue. He can't take the risk of me being choice banded, and I want to get a lead in this game. I want to get big damage onto something. This Mamoswine can still do a good amount of work, especially if that last move he is packing. Actually, we've seen all the moves, so it's not Ice Shard. It's Dual Stab, Crash, Earthquake, Trailblaze, Knockoff. But I don't think a Trailblaze will take me out from here, and I have the power to go for Banded Aqua Jet. He's going to want to get out of there, so I'm going to take the risk, and I'm actually going to click Belly Drum, and he does switch out. As anticipated, he's going to go into the Alomomola, which is always going to be his main switch into this Arzu, and I am going to go for the Belly Drum. Now, it takes me down quite low, but as I say, I have significant HP investment, as do many Azumarills, and I'm going to get my Citrus Berry back. And that's going to take me to just under half. Now, there is no way this Alomomola can do that much damage to me. I should be creeping a non-invested Aloe. There's a chance that he will outspeed and flip turn, but if that's the case, something is dying here. There is nothing on Chase's team that takes a play rough at this range. He has to choose a mon to sack right now. The Aloe is going to go for the flip turn. That is going to do a decent amount of damage. I'm noticing this Aloe, even though it's tiny bits of chip, it's bigger bits of chip than I thought it would be. So there's potential this is a bit of an offensive build of Aloe, which is cool if nothing else. But I have locked in on play rough, and something has to die on Chase's team. He is going to opt to sack off the Mamoswine. The play rough is going to come in. That's going to take out Mamo. A big threat gone from Chase's team, and that is always nice to see. So, predictably, in comes the Dragapult. Now, here's the situation. Azumarill can OHKO everything on Chase's team. It can OHKO both of those regen mons, even if they're max HP, max Fizz Def. But it needs a belly drum up to do so. And I can no longer switch out and get a belly drum off again if I switch back in. However, seeing that this Aloe might be a little bit more offensive than I thought, and the Hydrapple seems physically defensive, my two big special attackers in Crown and Moth might be able to deal with them. So what I'm going to try and do here is set up the late endgame with Iron Moth by getting my chip damage onto the Dragapult with Aqua Jet. This should do about 65-ish% to any given Dragapult. Especially with the HP investment I'm expecting, we do about that much damage. It is going to be the Thunderbolt that comes in. Now that's going to take out my Azumarill, but if I can use my Scarfed Iron Crown and my big physical hitters to chunk down that regen core, outside of this being a Scarfer, my Iron Moth late game is looking pretty good. So with all the chip damage I need on Dragapult, I'm going to go into my Iron Crown here. Now, there is a chance that this thing might be Specs, for example, and think that he can outspeed me. There are two plays I can go for here. One is to try and nab the surprise KO with the Scarfer onto this if it's not Scarfed with Tachyon Cutter, or predict the switch out with him fearing that if he isn't Scarfed, and go for a Volt switch. In the end, what I'm going to choose to do is go for Tachyon Cutter, because there's every chance that Chase just wants to stay in. He's shown before that he's not averse to just staying in and taking his damage where he can. And if this thing isn't Scarfed, then it might well go for Shadow Ball, which I will live. So I am going to go for the Tachyon. Unfortunately, Chase is a bit more canny than that. He is going to get on out of there, and he is going to go into the Alomomola, as we're just going to go for the Tachyon Cutter, which is going to do not a massive amount of damage to Alomomola. Like, this thing doesn't look to be Spadef particularly, but it's still an Alomomola. It's got mountains of HP. But, as I said, like previously, there's very little an Alomomola can actually... That's a mouthful, isn't it? There's very little an Alomomola can actually do to me. So what I'm actually going to do here is just stay in and click Tachyon Cutter again. If I can chunk this thing down to below 50%, it's going to be around 75 when it comes back in after regen, which is kind of where I like to keep my opposing regen mons at worst. So I am going to stay in, click Tachyon again, and make Chase respond to me. So, Tachyon Cutter is going to come in. And that is going to chunk it down to just around 50%, which is great. The Alomomola is going to go for Flip Turn, and this does more than it should have. This is where I can really start calcing the Alomomola, and there is only one way that Alomomola does that much damage with Flip Turn. It's Choice Banded. Didn't see that one coming. So, we have a Choice Band Alomomola on the field, which is interesting. Quite a cool bring, actually, not what I was anticipating, but it means my special attackers might have an easier chance, and my physical ones, breaking through it if it's just invested in HP or one of its defensive stats. So, in comes Tide Reaver, that is of course the Hisuian Samurott. Now this is prime opportunity for the Ceaseless Edge. I can take one potentially, but I don't really want to. But it's got to be the Ceaseless Edge that is coming in. We know that this is a Terra Ghost Hydrapple to stop me spinning, so Chase is going to want to get those hazards up when he can. My play therefore is to go into Great Tusk. I've EV'd this thing to take an Adamant Sharpness boosted Ceaseless Edge into Razor Shell. So what can happen there is I can go into Tusk, he goes for Edge, I get some chip damage with Helmet, I go for Spin as he potentially attacks me again, and then I take him out with the Fighting type move. So that's the game plan I'm going for here in the short term. In comes the Great Tusk, and it is indeed Ceaseless Edge that comes in, and that does no damage whatsoever. It is going to take that Rocky Helmet, and it's going to get up a layer of spikes. But this is fine. I am just going to go for the Rapid Spin here. I am aware that there is a Hydrapple in the back that is probably very physically defensive. But there is a chance that Chase isn't choiced, potentially AV or Sash, which he's run before, and he's going to want to stay in and get chip damage onto me as I potentially spin, and then maybe try and go from there. So, I am just going to go for the Rapid Spin, try and get rid of these spikes. I do not want hazards on my side of the field if I can avoid it. So, in comes the Taunt, which is interesting. Wasn't expecting that play. If I'd have gone for the fighting move, he would be gone. But it's more important that I go for the Rapid Spin. Now that we know that this thing is not choiced, we know that I can now outspeed after the spin, and a close combat will ruin this Hisuian Samurott. I think even if it's Choppleberry, it's not really taking this. But if it's Chopple and it's invested, it might. So what I'm actually going to do here is go for Supercell Slam. It's the best neutral damage I have on the Hydrapple that might want to come in. And if he wants to go into Aloe to try and get that back up, then Supercell Slam will do big damage to that. And it captures the offensive play into Enamorus and puts even more chip damage onto the Dragapult. So I'm covering as many bases as I can. There's no Mamoswine, so I don't risk any crash damage unless I just straight up miss. So the Hisuian Samurott, very predictably, is going to get the heck on out of dodge. It does not want to be facing down a +1 speed Great Tusk, and it is going to be the now full health Hydrapple that comes in. We're going to go for Supercell Slam and do nothing. Very, very physically defensive, and it has a Jaboka Berry for that nice, tasty recoil on mine. Very cool bring from Chase, actually. Very physically defensive. It's not taking any damage from my Great Tusk, and it gets the recoil onto me from the Jaboka Berry to boot. This means that I'm going to need my Iron Moth and my Iron Crown to try and break through this guy. But neither is a particularly safe switch in, given that this thing could go for an Earth Power on that prediction. That in mind, I'm not going to go into either of those. I'm going to make the safest play I can, which is to go into my Porygon 2. I'm back up to a good amount of health from the previous regen, and I trace it once again, which is really good. This Hydrapple is now going to go for Recycle. This is such a cool bring from Chase. Recycle Jaboka Berry to get as much chip damage as he can onto things that might want to hit him. Very cool bring. But now we're in this kind of stalemate of P2 versus Hydrapple. None of us can really touch each other too much, and we both have Regenerator now. So it could turn into a little bit of a stall fest. I'm rather hoping that I can win it 1v1 with Charge Beam. So in is going to come the Charge Beam. It's going to do a nominal bit of chip. I am going to get the special attack raise, which is great, and the Fickle Beam is not going to do very much from Hydrapple. I do have Recover. I've only used one of them. I am going to use a second here just to get myself up back to full in case the next Fickle Beam goes all out. It's going to be the Fickle Beam again, which is not going to go all out. It's going to get, I think, a bit of a higher roll. And now I'm just going to keep attacking. I have Charge Beam, which is doing very little, but it's boosting my special attack. Or I have Foul Play, which, to be honest, doesn't seem like it's going to be doing all that much either. So I'm going to go for another Charge Beam and see if I can't chunk this thing down to 50%, and we do. We don't get another special attack boost, which is tough, and the Fickle Beam is going to take us down into range where an all-out aim and all-out attack will do for P2. So I'm forced to go for another Recover here. I'm playing a risky game because this is giving him the opportunity to go into an offensive threat, but I'm trying to put myself into a position where I could make an offensive switch of my own, maybe, into Crown if I know the Fickle Beam is coming. So, Recover is going to come in once more. P2 going to be at that very nice range of health, and here is where the Fickle Beam is going to go all out. And that does considerably more damage. Not in a very good position with P2. If I want to live this, I'm really forced to recover, hope that the Fickle Beam doesn't go all out, and then maybe try and switch to get a better maneuvering position with the likes of Crown or Moth. So I'm going to go for another Recover. I did consider the switch here, but this is where my Regenerator would come in really handy. So I'm actually predicting him to switch up move, and he does go for Giga Drain. So that's another move that he has. It's Recycle, Giga Drain, Fickle Beam, and Earth Power. So if I can keep Charge Beaming up, eventually I should be able to win this. But now Chase has shown himself to be happy to switch up moves. I do need to be careful because I'm running out of recovers. So it's going to be Charge Beam that comes in. I'm looking to get that special attack raise. I don't, and in comes yet another Fickle Beam, and now P2 is in a really rough spot. Like I say, I need to conserve those recovers just in case. I do still have the Regenerator, so I can get a bit of health back. But now Chase has shown that he's happy to switch up moves when he needs to. Now the risk of an Earth Power is there. But I'm going to take that risk. The fact that he's not offensive means that Iron Crown should live an Earth Power at the very least, even at the range of health it's at. But Chase is going to choose this opportunity to make a switch of his own as well, getting out of there with Rockcore to get that regen, and going into his other regen mon in the form of Alomomola. Now, we know that this thing is Choice Banded. I'm going to go for Volt Switch for as much damage as possible, and as you'll see, that's actually going to do a really nice amount. When this thing comes back in, it's only going to be at around 50%, which is the range we want to keep it at as much as we possibly can. Now, I'm going to go back into P2 so I can once again Trace Regenerator another time. And it's going to be the best thing that wants to take the Flip Turn outside of Haxorus, who I don't overly want to risk. The Flip Turn still does a good amount, but P2 is at a range where it can live certain hits coming in still, and try and go for a recover, switch out again, and be at basically near full if possible. But now in comes the Enamorus. Now, we're in a bit of a sticky situation here. I can obviously Tri-Attack or Charge Beam and get some good damage, or I could switch out. This thing could very well be a Scarfer. Here's the problem. Iron Crown will take a timid Scarfed Earth Power, but it won't take two, and if that thing is Scarfed, it will outrun me. And I need both of my Iron Mons to be able to effectively combat the Regen Core. So, going into Iron Crown is a massive risk here, especially since I'm in range of Earth Power, because I don't have a Violite, and Chase will know by now I'm much more physically defensive than specially defensive. He'll have been running those counts. So there's every chance that he could very easily go for Earth Power here, risk-free. What I'm going to do is just go for Recover, and then that happens. That is a problem. It's not Scarfed, it's Agility. That is really bad. Really bad indeed. Now, even though I'm not a Violite, even though I am physically defensive, and I know from that being Agility, he's going to be modest and probably max special attack, I will still take a Moonblast, most likely. And realistically, if I'd have gone into Iron Crown, this wouldn't have been a problem. But unfortunately, nothing I have on this team can reliably take a hit, apart from one thing, under very certain circumstances. So my best idea here is to go for Tri-Attack, and realistically, I'm looking for the Parrot or the Freeze. I've managed to get it before, and then in comes Alluring Voice, which we live, and I'm quite happy with that until that happens. That is Throat Spray, and now he's +2 speed, +1 special attack. I go for Tri-Attack, I need the Paralysis here, and I don't get it. Now we are in a real pickle. I genuinely thought this was going to be the match where it had to be a Scarfed Enamorus. It's not, and now we're in trouble. P2 has run its race here. I'm going to go for the Tri-Attack just in case something miraculous happens, but realistically, Porygon 2 is going down here, and I'm going to be scrambling for a response to a +1 special attack, +1 speed, Heart Blight the Enamorus. It shows that it's got Earth Power, and down goes P2. However, I'm not defenseless. Remember, Haxorus has special defense investments. We are not done just yet. Everything else on my team, the Iron Crown, the Iron Moth, and the Great Tusk, is going to be one-shot from here. I have one thing that might take a hit, and it's Haxorus because of that HP and special defense investment. His last move is bound to be Mystical Fire or Sludge Bomb, sorry, one of the two, to be able to hit for coverage. So his move to hit Dragon Haxorus is Alluring Voice. He's going to be modest, he's going to be max special attack, and he's at +1. However, this Haxorus is built when terrored to take a timid Moonblast from a Scarf Enamorus quite comfortably. Now we're looking at a less powerful move but at +1. My play here is to Terra and Hope. If I Terra into Electric and he goes to Earth Power, it's game over anyway. But the fact that I'm not like Terra Steel to resist Fairy means he's far more likely to go for the Alluring Voice. If he goes for Alluring Voice and he is that set, he has a 37% chance to Oko me. I have a 63% chance to just barely hang on, live that hit, and go for Terra Blast Electric and stop this sweep from happening. It's the only play I have, and this is why we run Special Defense Investment on Haxorus. So, we put it all on the line. We are going to go Terra Electric on Haxorus. Again, if he Earth Powers here, it's game over, but I think he's far more likely to Alluring Voice and he only has a 37% chance to Okos from there, and those are odds. Not only will I take them, I have to. It's my only play. He is going to go for the Alluring Voice. Story of my season. He gets a crit. And now it just doesn't matter. We'll just talk over this because, spoiler alert, this Enamorus wins the game. I mean, I have nothing that can take a hit from it. He's shown Earth Power, he's got Alluring Voice. His last move was Poison Coverage, by the way. Yeah, there's nothing I have that can take a hit anymore. There's nothing I have that can outspeed Earth Power. There goes Iron Moth. Obviously, if I'd have gone into Iron Crown on that agility play, this all could have been avoided, but I couldn't take that risk, in my mind, of the Scarfer with Earth Power. And he did go for Earth Power against the P2, so he knew that it was in range. It's easily, of course, going to take out the Iron Crown at +1. Without the Throat Spray, I live that hit barely and take it out with Tachyon Cutter. So it could have been avoided if I'd gone into it on the agility turn, but it was a risk I didn't feel that I could take at the time. Oh look, it's my last Mon, it's a Great Tusk. I had an idea in mind previously that I was going to run Custap Berry, and if I'd have run Custap Berry, then I would have gone into Iron Crown and doubled into this to try and live the hit and get a Custap off. But unfortunately, that sweep is going to mean that that is going to be the game. So yeah, biggest loss of the season, big 5-0 loss to Chase. He takes his first win. It's a shame that, because that was a really good game up until that point. And if I'd have got the very favourable roll for me and lived that hit, it would have continued to be a very good game. Because that would have been a clutch live moment, the sweep would have been done, and we could have gone from there, and I still had lots of pieces intact to try and take on the regen core. Obviously, with the benefit of hindsight, yes, going into Crown would have been the play, but he had already shown that he wasn't averse to just going for Earth Power against the P2. So, you know, it wasn't a risk I felt I could take. He could have very easily just been Scarfed, gone for Earth Power, and then I'd have lost my Iron Crown. Sure, I could have then gone into Moth to threaten it out, but it would have been a different game. It's really difficult to say, you know, how much that changed the overall result of the game, because we both had so much left at that point that if Haxorus had lived and taken out the Enam, it was just a completely different game and no one knows who would have won. It was tricky. And like I say, I mean, we were both making really good, I think, plays with pretty good sets up until that point. I was a bit too passive with P2. I should have been a bit more active against the Hydrapple, sure. But I don't think that really impacted the game all that much, because I had to go into P2 to face down the Enamorus anyway. Yeah, it was a really good game up until then, and it leaves a bit of a sour taste that a crit that I had more of a chance to live than not if it wasn't, is what decides it. Yeah, kind of disappointed there, real shame. Not too much more to be said, to be honest. But, you know, Chase had a really cool team. I love how he used his regen core in that one, banded Alamomola and recycled Javoka Berry Hydrapple. That's cool. Incidentally, the Dragapult was scarfed. So there you go. That would have outsped anyway, but there was stuff I had that could potentially tank a hit from a scarfed drag. So, I don't know. It's really too difficult to say how things would have gone if we'd have lived that hit. So, there's no point really going into it. What there is point in doing is going down to the description, clicking on Chase's channel, going over there, giving his side of this video a like, giving all the rest of his videos a like, subscribing, and showing his support to him, because he is an absolute fucking champion of Draft League and YouTube in general. One of my favourite people, someone who, I've mentioned this before, he's someone I was a fan of, who was so welcoming to me and everyone else in his community when he was streaming. He remembers everybody's fucking names. And, you know, he became a friend of mine, and now we're just able to be mates, and it's fantastic. You know, peeking behind the curtain of my intros, he has helped me so much with my intros when he didn't have to. It's not my position to go into the wheres and wherefores of this, but Chase has had some IRL stuff happening recently, and he still has taken the time to help me with my silly little intros. So I will forever be in debt to Chase. I hope you're watching this, my man. Love you to bits. You're a fantastic gentleman and a scholar. And yeah, he puts out fantastic content. You already know that. Go and show him the love. Show him all the love. Tell him I sent you. But yeah, what it means is we're basically out of playoffs. Mathematically, we're not. I'm not going to reveal the results of any other games. Mathematically, we're not out of playoffs. It is an infinitesimally small chance of us getting through, because the three things I need to happen for me to make playoffs now is I need Ellie to beat Nova in their last game. That could go either way. Because of differential and who's playing who, I need to win my last game 6-0. And I need the final game of Jack the Don Fnatic versus Travesty to come down to a 1v1 where Jack KOs Trav's last mon and then goes down to his lone life orb recall. Because of the way the differential is, I need Jack to win 0-0. And I need to win 6-0. So it's possible, but unlikely. However, if you thought for the storyline that this game was big, oh boy, it's happened so many times before, but in the final week of the season, we are taking on Onesie fucking Bayonet. Alex, my boy, we're taking him on last yet again. This is culminating. There's a big storyline culmination coming. I hope you're as excited for it as I am. It's probably going to be quite a special video, so keep your eyes peeled. But I'm going to get out of here. I've rambled on far too long, so my final thank you to you all for watching. And I guess with that, I will see you next time. Laters.